Welcome to Minghui Radio's Falun Gong News, direct from China and around the world. Topics include news about the persecution of Falun Gong in China, local events, and special items of interest. Now for this week's stories.
USA. The Montgomery County Thanksgiving Parade took place in Silver Spring, Maryland on November 22nd. Falun Dafa practitioners were among the more than 200 groups participating. Their entry this year included a float and the waist drum team. People applauded and cheered as the waist drummers passed by, displaying their customary, energetic performance, and some clapped in time to the music. Banners with the words Falun Dafa and the world needs truthfulness, compassion for parents were greeted by people along the parade route. Many happily took the brochures handed out by practitioners. The popular annual event drew tens of thousands of people. TV stations, including ABC, 7 News, and Fox 5 Washington, D.C., live-streamed the entire parade. The on-site parade host were journalists Brian Van de Graaff and Eileen Whelan. They said to practitioners, "Thank you very much for bringing us serenity and peace on this beautiful holiday. This world truly needs truthfulness, compassion, forbearance. So thank you for helping us become better."
Australia. The Mind Body Spirit Festival took place at the Melbourne Convention Centre from November 14th through November 16th. The event is held twice a year during the months of June and November. Falun Dafa practitioners joined in to introduce their spiritual practice to festival attendees. More than 140 exhibitors provided health, natural products, and spiritual instruction. The colorful Falun Dafa booth, exercise demonstrations, and peaceful energy field drew many visitors who wanted to learn more about the practice. Some people learned the exercises at the event, while many more planned to participate in the free Falun Dafa online class. Some people said they would read Zhuan Falun, the main book of the practice.
Brazil. Falun Dafa practitioners from various parts of the country gathered in downtown Sao Paulo on November 9th to tell people the benefits of the spiritual practice. They also informed residents and tourists about the ongoing persecution of Falun Dafa practitioners in China by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. The practitioners' exercise demonstration, information displays, lotus flowers, and signature collection drive drew many passers-by who signed a petition calling to end the CCP's atrocities. The activities were held the day after the practitioners held a cultivation experience sharing conference.
Japan. Falun Dafa practitioners in the city of Hiroshima recently took part in 2 local events, the City Planning Citizens Exchange Festival on November 15th and the 2025 International Festival the day after. They performed the Chinese waist drum dance and also demonstrated the Falun Dafa exercises at both events. Practitioners set up an information booth and introduced the practice with its exercises and exposed the CCP's 26-year persecution. Some festival attendees realized that they had been misled by defamatory propaganda about this spiritual practice. People condemned the communist regime for its persecution of Falun Gong. Many people said they experienced a strong energy field after doing the exercises. Ms. Dohai said that she found them easy to learn and was impressed that the instruction was free. She noted, "When I placed my hands above my abdomen, I felt how profound the practice is. I want to ask my father to learn it too." Ms. Dohai decided to continue doing the exercises by joining a practice site nearby, along with at least 3 other people at the event who were also inspired by how they felt when trying the exercises.
New Zealand. Many cities in the country hold Christmas parades at the end of November. This year, Falun Dafa practitioners received invitations from more than 20 cities and districts to join annual Christmas parades. The practitioners' Tianguo Marching Band, Dragon Dance, and Waist Drum teams participated in parades in the communities of Christchurch in the Auckland suburbs of Onehunga and Papakura on November 22nd and 23rd. Many spectators praised practitioners' performances and gave them a thumbs up.
Indonesia. Falun Dafa practitioners' efforts to introduce the practice to communities across the Riau Islands province have been warmly received by many local government institutions. During the second week of November, practitioners were invited to introduce the practice to inmates at the Batam City Women's Prison, at the Public Order Agency of Karimun Regency in the Riau Islands province, and at the Batam City Juvenile Rehabilitation Center. The introduction of Falun Dafa across various Indonesian institutions reflects growing public interest in a practice that not only promotes physical well-being but also strengthens morality.
France. The annual Mayors and Local Authorities Fair was held at the Paris Expo, Porte Versailles, from November 18th through the 20th. Falun Dafa practitioners took the opportunity to raise awareness of the ongoing persecution of innocent Falun Dafa practitioners being perpetrated by the CCP. They also demonstrated the exercises and collected signatures on a petition to end the persecution in front of the exhibition hall. People continuously passed in front of the exhibition hall, and many were shocked after learning about the brutality of the CCP's crimes. Several people said they were drawn to the Falun Dafa practitioners by the exercise demonstration. People offered praise for their courage and encouraged them to persevere. Some members of parliament, mayors, city councilors, and people from all walks of life signed the petition that calls to end the CCP's state-sanctioned forced organ harvesting.
Canada. The city of Montreal held their Christmas parade on November 22nd, and more than 1,500 people participated. The annual event signals the start of the holiday celebrations. Falun Dafa's Tianguo marching band, the largest parade entry with 110 members, was welcomed by spectators. The large, colorful parade draws approximately 200,000 to 300,000 spectators yearly.
USA. The 63rd Maple Hill Holiday Parade was held in Kalamazoo, Michigan on November 22nd, and the Falun Dafa practitioners gladly took part. Spectators spoke highly of their performances and of the principles of truthfulness, compassion, forbearance. Over 90 community groups dressed for the holidays participate in the parade. A record number of over 30,000 people lined the streets to take in the popular event. Practitioners dressed in bright colors stood out as they played the Tang Dynasty drums and carried large banners that read Falun Dafa and Truthfulness, Compassion, Forbearance. People read the banners, took pictures, waved at practitioners, and gave them a thumbs up.
Spain. Falun Dafa practitioners participated in the Biocultura Madrid 2025 at the IFEMA Madrid Convention Center from November 6th through the 9th. Biocultura is Spain's leading organic trade event and features organic products and encourages responsible consumption. This year, the annual event attracted more than 600 exhibitors and over 60,000 visitors. The Falun Dafa booth featured a photograph of the founder of the practice, Mr. Li Hongzhi, as well as a training video teaching the exercises and posters that showed Falun Dafa being practiced worldwide. Practitioners also demonstrated the 5 exercises with the music. Many people who wanted to learn more took materials, and some purchased Falun Dafa books. Several learned the exercises on site. The following are selected cases of persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China. Miss Li Wenfeng was seen in a prison surveillance video making her bed after getting up one morning. Then she patted her head twice before collapsing to the ground. Her head hit the edge of the metal bed across from hers. She remained motionless and was later rushed to a hospital, where she died despite attempts to resuscitate her. According to an insider, the guards at the prison played the footage to other Falun Gong practitioners jailed there to prove that they had nothing to do with Miss Li's death. The surviving practitioners, however, knew that Miss Li, 64, died after repeated abuse in prison for holding firm to her faith in Falun Gong. One practitioner later faced threats when she refused to renounce her faith, with a guard warning her, "If you don't behave, we'll make you stand all night long like Li Wenfeng." Miss Li's death took place around February or March 2025, the exact time to be investigated. Her exact prison term is also unknown.
Ms. Fang Wenfeng, a former obstetrician from Fuyang City, Anhui Province, was arrested in 2022 and later sentenced to 5 years in prison for her faith in Falun Dafa. While incarcerated, Ms. Fang was tortured to the point of being unable to walk. New information has emerged that Ms. Fang was also injected with unknown drugs, which resulted in her becoming confused and unable to recognize people. Ms. Fang is in her 70s. Prior to her latest persecution, Ms. Fang was previously held at a local detention center multiple times and many times in a brainwashing center. She was also given 3 labor camp terms totaling about 2 years and jailed twice for a combined total of 12 years. She barely survived the torture while in custody and lost all of her teeth. As a result of frequent force feeding, she is currently on a liquid diet while serving her 3rd prison term.
A total of 851 incidents of Falun Gong practitioners who were arrested or harassed for their faith were reported in September and October. The 851 cases include 482 arrests and 369 harassment cases. Among them, 243 practitioners had their homes ransacked and 27 were held in brainwashing centers. The 851 practitioners lived in 27 provinces. Liaoning Province reported the most combined cases of 144, followed by 130 in Hebei and 117 in Shandong. 12 regions had double-digit cases between 11 and 93. The remaining 12 places registered single-digit cases between 1 and 8. Prior to the Chinese Communist Party's military parade on September 3, 2025, Falun Gong practitioners across China faced intensified arrests and harassment. The CCP regularly targets Falun Gong practitioners ahead of major events or anniversaries, which it claims are sensitive days, in order to prevent practitioners from taking these opportunities to raise awareness about the persecution that has been going on for the past 26 years.
2 women in Urumqi City, Xinjiang, Uyghur Autonomous Region, became incapacitated while detained for their faith in Falun Gong, and the authorities threatened to give them at least 3 years of prison sentence. Ms. Pan Shuha, 71, and Ms. Luo Chuanwei were deceived into reporting to the district police department. They were arrested on arrival. The police targeted them after receiving a tip that they had talked to people about Falun Gong months earlier. Due to the abuse in custody, both women became unable to walk or stand. They were very weak. Ms. Pan was given a wheelchair to get around. It is unclear whether Ms. Luo was offered any assistance. This is not the first time that both women have been targeted for their faith. Ms. Pan's husband was forced to divorce her after the persecution of Falun Gong began. She was arrested and sentenced to 3 years in 2007. In prison, she was punched and kicked numerous times for refusing to answer the roll call. She went on a hunger strike in protest and was brutally force-fed.
Practitioners call for an end to the persecution during Chinese official visit to New Zealand. The chairman of the Standing Committee of the China National People's Congress, Zhao Leji, arrived in New Zealand on November 20th. He visited Parliament in the capital city of Wellington. During his stay, Falun Dafa practitioners from the cities of Auckland and Wellington peacefully protested the CCP's 26-year-long persecution of Falun Dafa in front of the Parliament building. They distributed flyers to passers-by and reporters and called on the New Zealand government to pay attention to the CCP's persecution. They urged the government to deny entry to and sanction CCP officials who have been involved in the persecution through legislation along the lines of the U.S. Magnitsky Act, which sanctions individuals worldwide for human rights violations. In sharp contrast to the practitioners' peaceful event, several pro-CCP groups attempted to interfere with the efforts to raise public awareness. They tried to block the practitioners' banners with poster boards and shouted or played loud drums to disrupt the rally. These actions caught the attention of passers-by and were stopped by security and police on site, who ordered the pro-CCP members to keep their distance from the practitioners in order to ensure practitioners' safety. Former councillor of Wellington, Antony Brunt, expressed his support for the practitioners' protest and condemned Zhao for his deep involvement in the persecution. Mr. Brunt said, "I support protests against Zhao Leji as he has been deeply implicated in the CCP's murderous crackdown on the innocent followers of the spiritual movement Falun Gong since the early 2000s, when he was promoted to Communist Party Secretary of Qinghai Province, the CCP's top province for labor camps and imprisonment." He continued, "Many of these concentration camps were and are suspected to be major facilities for the harvesting of organs from Falun Gong practitioners and other prisoners of conscience. Organ harvesting is a euphemism for surgical murder, which tragically has now become a central pillar of China's booming but discredited organ transplant sector. Many overseas professional bodies and journals will now not accept medical or scientific papers from China on organ transplantation, given the grisly reality that underpins most of it." Mr. Brunt pointed out, in 2017, after becoming the secretary of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection of the CCP, in other words, the regime's hard man, Zhao Leji has apparently continued to promote the persecution of Falun Gong through the party's notorious 610 office, tasked with the extermination of Falun Gong. Mr. Brunt said, "Frankly, this is a man deeply involved in a regime responsible for some of the most atrocious and systematic human rights abuses of the 21st century, and he should be merely tolerated rather than welcomed to this country. New Zealand needs to make sure that in any cultural, political, or scientific exchanges with China, it steers clear of getting blood on its hands." Prime Minister Christopher Luxon received an open letter from Falun Gong practitioners calling on the government to raise human rights issues in China in meetings with Zhao Leji and to pay attention to the CCP's 26-year persecution of Falun Gong. The Prime Minister's office acknowledged receipt of the letter and thanked the practitioners for sharing their feedback, concerns, and ideas.
A U.S. congressional hearing titled China's War on Religion, the Threat to Religious Freedom and Why It Matters to the United States was held in the Senate's Dirksen Building on November 20th, 2025. Multiple witnesses spoke of the CCP's suppression of religious groups through the Communist Party's coercion, intimidation, and transnational repression. Ambassador Sam Brownback, former Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, stated in the hearing that the CCP fears Falun Gong the most. He recommended that the U.S. government recognize the CCP's genocide against Falun Gong. He called on America to stand with Falun Gong practitioners who have advised millions of Chinese people to quit the CCP. Senator Dan Sullivan moderated the hearing and said that Falun Gong practitioners are tortured for peacefully meditating. He said, "The CCP fears the power of faith because it is a source of values and moral authority it cannot control." Former Ambassador Sam Brownback said in the hearing, "The CCP fears them, people of faith, more than our nuclear missiles or aircraft carriers." Specifically discussing Falun Gong, he said, "This is the community the CCP fears the most because they are the most natural and indigenous to the Chinese people. They went from being introduced in 1992 to 90 million practitioners in 7 years before being banned by the CCP." The ambassador continued, "China is at war with faith. It is a battle for control of their people. The CCP annually spends billions of dollars in their own country to suppress, contain, control, deceive, or eliminate all religious entities that do not have the CCP as their leader. Religious freedom is seen as an essential threat to the communist leadership. Mr. Brownback pointed out that the U.S. needs to make changes in its religious freedom strategies. He said religious freedom is regarded as a human right, but not a core issue. Confronting the CCP, religious freedom is of national interest and is an essential and urgent issue. He said that we need to change our mindset and shift religious persecution from a human rights issue to one of national interest. He stated, China is at war with faith. We should strongly back these oppressed people of faith. He added that religious freedom is an American value and that we should urge President Trump, Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio, and Secretary Hegseth to meet with the exiled leaders of those being persecuted by the CCP, including Falun Gong practitioners, Christians, Muslims, and Buddhists. The Falun Gong Protection Act, S-817, was put forward by Senator Ted Cruz on March 3, 2025. The bill states that the CCP still conducts forced organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners and provides for the sanctioning of those involved in the crime. Senator David McCormick of Pennsylvania has now joined the co-sponsors of the bill, bringing the total number up to 8.
The 2025 South Korean Falun Dafa Cultivation Experience Sharing Conference was held at the Daejeon KT Talent Development Institute on November 16th. 9 practitioners talked about how they improve their moral nature in their daily lives, while also clarifying the truth to people about the persecution. One sharing report was presented by Mr. Kang, who began to practice Falun Dafa when he was a freshman in high school, but stopped in his second year of college. 17 years passed, and then in September of 2023, he saw Master's article, Cultivation in Dafa is Serious, online. He was touched when he read it. He then watched a video of Master's lectures, studied his recent teachings, and began doing the exercises. After he resumed cultivating, he got rid of his attachment to stocks and Bitcoin, treasured the group cultivation environment, and participated in truth clarification activities on weekends and holidays. Another practitioner named Mr. Park had been a monk until he realized that Buddhism had become increasingly secular. When he heard about Falun Dafa, he decided to practice it. He lived on Jeju Island and clarified the truth about what Falun Dafa is to Chinese tourists. When the practitioner's local information site was attacked by Chinese tourists, the police were nervous and asked Mr. Park as a person in charge to scale back or stop their activities. Mr. Park patiently explained how the CCP infiltrates societies and how this poses a security issue in South Korea. Mr. Park realized he needed to further clarify the truth to the police supervisor, who changed his attitude once he learned more about the CCP's tactics. He then lifted the restrictions and promised to increase their patrols at the information site and the surrounding areas. Many who attended the conference said they were touched by other practitioners' experiences and said they would be more diligent during this last phase of the Fa rectification. They all appreciated Master for his boundless compassion and for offering them this grand opportunity to cultivate.
Thank you for listening to the Minghui Radio Podcast. For more information, including news about the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China and experience sharing stories by practitioners around the world, please visit our website at en.minghui.org.